Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about Iran, because Iran proves that you can isolate an entire nation by shutting off the internet. Now, here's what's going on. The Iranian government shut down access to the rest of the world for more than 4 days in response to basically civil unrest, which was apparently triggered by a gasoline hike. Now, this shutdown basically in Iran affected 80 million people, because that is roughly their population, and was the first to effectively isolate a modern, highly developed domestic network. And this is according to many experts that were monitoring this situation. This reporting is coming from the Associated Press. That makes it a milestone in efforts by authoritarian regimes to censor online communications. Now, what did remain active during this shutdown was the National Information Network, in which authorities have invested very heavily in recent years in this country. Basically, it's a closed domestic intranet that can basically be nearly isolated from the rest of the world. This is a system that would allow things like banks, government agencies, universities, etc., to continue to function even if the authorities shut down the internet. So some of those institutions, like Iran's central bank, retained access to the global internet as mobile networks and home infrastructure, meaning basically everything that a citizen would use to get online had no connectivity. Now, Iran is not actually the first to try this. Other governments, such as Ethiopia, have actually imposed longer internet outages, and Russia is exerting more control over its internet as well. I recently talked about Russia shutting off the internet temporarily as a test for its citizenship, but nothing so far basically equals Iran's shutdown in terms of logistical complexity. Now, the Iranian government can throttle or block access because basically there are just two core gateways, basically known as exchanges, that bring the internet in and out of Iran. Now, they actually control those, and by virtue of that, they would have the ability to shut off access to those gateways that are basically bringing the internet in and out. Now, a lot of people are starting to compare this to China, in the sense that China has exerted very heavy control over its population, but unlike China, Iran, when they started their internet program, basically had a decentralized internet in the same way that most countries do, like here in the United States, Europe, Japan, etc., etc., etc. But their authorities, realizing just the capability of a decentralized internet to get information in and out of a country, basically started investing heavily in reining it in to create a more centralized authority. And this basically was a direct result of the protests of the presidential election in 2009. They saw they could not control the information flow, and so here we are. And so this is actually what's coming. We know that China, through its Belt and Road Initiative, has been pushing basically their authoritarian-style internet on their member countries, and teaching authoritarian regimes how to censor, monitor, and lock down information. Vietnam is one of the early recipients of this information, and Iran just proved to the world that an authoritarian regime that is in control of a population of 80 million can effectively cut off communication to the outside world. Obviously, this would be very difficult then to allow dissidents to organize, especially if even the internal intranet within the country is killed, except for those critical government functions. And so I think this is a very serious problem. Now, I wrote an article basically called Bisecting the Internet for Forbes in late 2018, which was based on Google's predictions, the founders of Google, basically saying by 2028, we're going to have two types of internet: the authoritarian internet run by China and its allies, and basically a more open internet like we have here in the West, in Europe, Australia, the United States, Japan, South Africa, etc., and everybody's going to pretty much fall into one of those two camps. Google is banking heavily on this. Well, I think Iran just proved that they can actually do this, and that authoritarian internet that we are going to see spun up, let's say around half the planet or so by 2028, just took a major step in locking that down. So I think anybody that enjoys the open internet and the free exchange of ideas, good, bad, or ugly, no matter what the government is not a fan of this. And quite frankly, I'm not a fan of it either. But that is your news of the day. And quite frankly, I think if you're a citizen of Iran, it's probably a little frightening as well. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.